Hey everyone, hopefully you enjoyed that beautiful elevator music right there as we're counting down our debut episode for our top college basketball picks over here at Pool Genius. This time we are looking at the Saturday slate, Saturday, February 14th. We're going to break down our top five picks for that slate, and we are recording this as of Thursday afternoon. So we don't have all the spreads and totals for each matchup, but we have a pretty good idea of where those odds might land, and we can make our calls based on that. So before we get to the picks here, I want to point out a special new offer that we have running here over at Pool Genius. We partnered up with the guys over at Novig, a sports prediction platform where you can get a 100% deposit match up to $25 when you use the promo code POOL. That's POOL, as in pool, like Pool Genius, if you catch my drift. So you can check that out if you are in one of these states that we are showing on the screen. Novig is available in 35 plus states, including, you can see there, the state that I'm located in, Minnesota, where we don't have FanDuel and DraftKings and those traditional sports betting apps. So I use Novig as one of my primary apps that to make picks across basically all sports. And then Jason, I know you down in Missouri, you just got traditional sports betting in your FanDuel and DraftKings, but you also use Novig to sort of line shop. Is that right? It sounds like you're muted, Jason. I don't know if that happened because nope. Let me unmute Jason's mic. He is still muted. I think he's there. Are you there?
I am trying to be here. I apologize. I was messing.
You gotta love live.
We're live, and so we get to see. So yeah, I've used Novig recently. College basketball is pretty good because there's usually, in most cases on the games I've checked, better like money line odds or juice on the games I want in most cases. So really good to shop and compare to what you're getting at the other books, because oftentimes you will get a little better juice on these, or an extra 10 cents, an extra 15 on a money line if you're interested in a particular side.
Yeah, so definitely check that out if you are in one of these states that is in the blue here that you're seeing on your screen. So with that, let's get into the five picks here, Jason, for Saturday. The first pick that we are looking at here is over in the SEC. It's a 1 o'clock tip-off between Texas A&M traveling on the road to Vanderbilt. We have Texas A&M as an underdog here on the road, probably around 6 to 7 or 8 points.
Yeah.
Which side are you looking to take here?
So I like A&M. They have taken a beating the last two games against Florida. They got crushed at home last weekend, and then just lost on Wednesday night to Missouri at home in a close game. Came down to the end. Missouri scored. They were unable to match them in the final seconds, lost by a point, but were favored by like 6.5, I believe. So in the short term, A&M's had a couple bad results, but with this current lineup, this is a first-year coach, Bucky Ball there in A&M. They had a lot of changes early in the year. New coach, a lot of rotation changes. One of their star players actually went out hurt, Mackenzie Mbako, and so they have finally settled on a lineup about entering January. The last 12 games they've been consistent, and even with those last two results, substantially better overall. Even though the last two results have not been good, they have been a better side overall, about 3.5 points better compared to their first 12 games. And so here's why I like A&M. Florida and Missouri are two of the tallest teams in the country in the lineups they put out on the floor, and they use that size against A&M, who is outside the top 200 in height, is a relatively small team. They like to create pressure. They don't have a lot of size and depth inside, though, and they basically got beat up on the boards. Over 40% offensive rebound rate for both of those opponents. But Vandy's more like A&M. This is more of a like versus like game. Vandy's also not a particularly tall team, so they're not going to be a major size disadvantage. And so I like A&M to keep it close with the points that I anticipate will be over 6. So I like A&M here as the dog in a much better matchup for them based on their interior strength.
Yeah, and I like that too. I tend to lean towards a team like Texas A&M in more of an underdog role than favored role, just because there's so much variability in their style of play and everything. They're a team with that Bucky ball that really likes to push the pace, shoot a bunch of threes. So I really wouldn't be opposed to betting this one live too. Maybe you can get a better number just because the style of the Aggies, like they go on runs and then they go on cold streaks too. So that's kind of another angle. I do like them as the underdog. But if you're watching this game, maybe look at the live number two would be a way to go. So our second pick for Saturday, this is a 1 o'clock tip off as well. We're heading over to the Big 12. It is Iowa State hosting Kansas. We have Iowa State checking in at maybe around 4 or 5 as a favorite here at home. And the Cyclones are off a bad road loss to TCU, while Kansas had a great home win against number 1 Arizona, previously undefeated Arizona, even without their superstar, Darren Peterson, for the Jayhawks. So Kansas has won 8 in a row. Kansas beat Iowa State by 21 points in a game in Lawrence nearly a month ago. So what gives here? Like, I mean, I actually like Iowa State as a home favorite here. I think this is more of a get right spot for the Cyclones. I think they're going to be extra motivated coming off that bad loss earlier in the week, while Kansas might be patting themselves on the back a little bit more than they should be. I know that they're on a roll, but I just really think this is a great spot for Iowa State, who is a really good home team. We have them ranked number 6th. We separate out their home and road rankings for each team, and we have Iowa State number 6 as their home rating over on teamrankings.com. So I really like taking Iowa State here as a favorite of less than 2 possessions, so under that 6. And I'm really hoping that we can kind of get that number even closer, under 4, get it to like 3, and Kansas comes in as like a really popular road dog just because they've been hot lately. I would take really any of those numbers, but I'm hoping we can get that closer down to 0.
You're not concerned about Darren Peterson's status. I'll give you here's the truth. I just looked at our splits. The presumptive first overall pick, Kansas's rating is slightly higher. I mean, it's within a point in the games he has missed and the games he has played, which is crazy. But that's after that Arizona result, which obviously boosted it up. And so I don't think it much, like, in a weird way, they can rise to the occasion without him. He sometimes, he's made great plays like he did at the end of Tech, but you never know how that team's going to respond. I do kind of like Iowa State because of the revenge factor here. Hilton Magic, a tough place to play when the fans are riled up and the Busch Light is flowing. And so I anticipate that will be the case in Ames this weekend. And so, yeah, I don't mind playing against Kansas away from home here after that emotional win.
Yeah, and shout out to our newsletter writer, Nick Bateman, who actually wrote a deep dive on this Kansas Darren Peterson predicament earlier last week. And he basically found that Kansas's best lineup comes when Derek Peterson's on the bench, surprisingly. That's not to say that Derek Peterson brings the team down, but their best lineup combo surprisingly doesn't have their superstar player on it, even though Darren Peterson's numbers in a vacuum are very good. So that was a great write-up there, and you can check it out more by looking at our College Basketball by the Numbers newsletter. I will link that on YouTube down below in the comment section. So moving on from here, we have another game on Saturday afternoon. This one is at 3 o'clock Eastern time. We're heading over to the Big East. It is Marquette at Xavier. Should be a relatively tight spread. Which side are you looking at here, Jason?
I'm hoping to catch Marquette with points over on the money line. I think this line will be between 2 and 4, somewhere around 3, but we'll see. But Marquette, because I don't know, I never know how much they're adjusting to certain lineup factors that I'm going to talk about here. This Marquette side was really struggling. I mean, they were 4-16-1 against the spread to start the year. They have had a disappointing year. Like no two ways about it. But they've also had a lot of lineup changes. They have 3 different starters now than what the lineup looked like at the start of the year. So Shaka Smart has really been mixing, matching, tinkering to find the right combos. I think he's finally found something. With this current lineup, which has only been in place for 8 games, they've been nearly 9 points better. Now, certainly I would expect some regression off that, but 3 of their 4 best games by our game score measure, opponent adjusted, 3 of their best game scores in the last 4 games with this lineup. They've covered 4 straight by a combined 45 points. They just covered midweek. They won on the weekend against Butler. I like this Marquette team to be a little undervalued now based on how bad they were, but also based on it's coming with different players seeing key minutes for this team. And I think they finally found something to kind of, if not salvage their season, make the end of it a little better than it had been.
Yeah, and you make some great points there, and I really like this is what you're doing over on our Discord basically like every single day is you have this lineup adjustment tool that can look at all the different lineup combinations for a team and basically isolate and see where a team is playing their best and if their overall grade, if they're overrated or underrated, depending on those lineup changes that they've made, any injuries consideration. Because while the NBA is a very efficient market for injuries and things like that, college basketball, there's value to be had if you can find those injuries in different lineup combinations and find a team playing more or less efficient based on that, right?
It is virtually impossible, by the way, to find injury news outside of like the top teams. Like there are literally teams I'm looking at where I'm like, okay, they had 2 starters that didn't play last game, and I can't find a mention of it anywhere as to why, how much they're out, all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of information that is just not necessarily commonly found or used. It's really hard to find. Yeah, we have some tools that allow us to isolate some of that stuff pretty easily compared to what most people would have to dig through each team's box scores. So yeah, there is some potential edge. Now, obviously, there's plenty of noise. You've got to think critically, and I like to present the case, and people can decide for themselves whether they think that's a factor that might matter. But I do think this Marquette team, given how much they underperformed early, has found a little something late and probably has some value because lines will be priced on their full season numbers. And I think they're a little better than their full season numbers now.
Right. And now let's pivot into the evening slate on Saturday. We're going back to the Big 12. I'm still not used to saying Arizona in the Big 12, but here we are. Texas Tech at Arizona, Saturday, 6:30 Eastern time. We're predicting Texas Tech will be, of course, the underdog here on the road of maybe 6 to 7 or 8 points, somewhere in that range. I have some thoughts on this game a little bit, but I want to hear your side first, Jason, here.
Yeah, I'll be interested in where this line goes because if you look at like Ken Palm, he would have Arizona at 11. Now, I'm going to present the case, and if it were 11, I'm definitely loving Texas Tech. This Texas Tech team had some starters out. JT Toppin did not start game 1. They've got, like, again, kind of what I talked about. Some things that have caused the lineups to change a little bit. They've had Jalen Petty was not a starter at the beginning of the year. He's in the lineup. Christian Anderson, who has logged 40 minutes in several games and usually at least 36. So he's one of the highest minutes played players in the country. Missed the Kansas game, the one on Big Monday that Kansas came back and won. It was part of their comeback. So Tech didn't have their full lineup. When they've had this full lineup, the one that I anticipate will be on the court for this game, they're a plus 24 in our power rating. So just for perspective, Arizona has had no injury issues, the same starting 5 all year. They're close to a plus 28, so still about 4 points better. But that's arguably the best team in the country, or one of the best. So this Tech team at full strength is like a high quality 2 seed. So if I'm getting close to double digits, if I'm getting above 7 or 8, I think I like Tech here with a full lineup, with JT Toppin, with everything, because they can match Arizona, I think, inside with Toppin, and can compete in this game, even if it's in Arizona, and Arizona's coming off that big win. Arizona has quite the schedule down the stretch, by the way. This thing could go any direction. They've got their toughest games Monday, this one, and coming up with Houston. So plenty to play for.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that exact point up about Arizona. Like, I'm not taking anything away from the Wildcats. I think they're definitely deserving of their ranking, and they were undefeated up to the point up before that loss at Kansas on Monday. And they had good wins back early in the season against UCLA and UConn and Alabama, teams like that. But when you look at, they entered conference play, and it's to no fault of their own. Like, you only play the schedule in front of you. They really haven't played many big teams since they started conference play. I mean, they beat BYU by 3 a couple weeks ago, and that really started the BYU losing streak of, I think they lost 4 in a row after that, or including that game. So that was really their toughest test ever since the start of the new year. And now they had Kansas on Monday, Texas Tech coming up on Saturday. Then they have BYU again. They have Houston. Then they have Baylor, which is not a premier matchup, but still difficult enough. Kansas, Iowa State, and then they finish the season against Colorado. So we're going to learn a lot of how good this Arizona team really is. And it's going to start this. I mean, it already started on Monday when we saw them lose in Lawrence. But this is going to be another big test for them. And I just think, your analysis on this one, if Texas Tech is a 7-point dog or more, I'm probably going to fire off on that.
Yeah, and to your point on this remaining schedule, I just saw over on FanDuel they got some futures, and I just saw that they have the conference regular season winners, including for the Big 12. Guess who has the shortest odds to win the Big 12 regular season? To be the 1 seed.
Is it Arizona?
Not Arizona.
Is it Kansas?
It's Houston. Houston's tied with them on wins or losses at 1. And Houston is actually narrowly. I mean, they're basically priced similarly, and they are in our projections too. We have them both at about 45, 44%. But that speaks to this difficult schedule, as Arizona is not a minus number to win the Big 12 1 seed at this point in the season, despite their hot start.
Yeah, and so let's look at our final game. This is a Saturday evening game. It's kind of an interesting one. We get a fun non-conference neutral site game in the middle of February. This one's going to be played in Nashville. It's Ohio State versus Virginia. This feels like a feast week type of game in a special tournament or something. But I kind of like it. Remember, we used to have the what was it? The bracket busters or something in late February between some out of conference teams. It kind of reminds me of that. And we're going to get another big one next weekend. But looking at this Ohio State Virginia matchup, what do you see here? I mean, Ohio State's kind of a bubble team. Virginia, we have them around. I don't know where your bracketology puts them, but we have them like 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah, that's where I had them when I just slotted through. I have them as a 4, probably like the last 4.
Yeah, and Virginia's won.
Yeah.
Virginia's won 9 of their last 10, the only loss coming to North Carolina. Ohio State is kind of one of those teams where they lose the games they're supposed to lose. Yeah. They win the games they're supposed to win, and they're 50-50 on their coin flip games. So, I mean, how do you see this one, and where do you see the spread?
Yeah, I'm going to break this down here in a second, but allow this old man, because you talked about these non-conference matchups here in February. We used to see these all the time. Now the conferences have gotten so bloated. Like Duke plays some now and again at Madison Square Garden, and they're playing one next week against Michigan. But it used to be way more common back before you had 20 conference games. As a Mizzou fan, I remember we used to play UNLV a couple times in February. back in the late 80s, 90s, and those matchups would always pop up randomly on a Saturday. So I miss those. We have this one. I think Baylor gets Louisville in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Is another neutral site non-conference game going on Saturday that we didn't discuss, but this one is a bigger one for tournament reasons. You mentioned Ohio State. So here's the thing. I have them out. Like our automated projection has them in. I have them first four out, even after the win over USC, because they fall into that classic mode unless they get a big win. And this would be their best win of the year easily if they get this win on neutral court. Their best win is over UCLA at home or USC at home, and their best road win at Northwestern. I mean, like, or neutral win. Like, you look at it, and so I think they put that resume in front of the committee, and they're in trouble unless they can knock off one of the big boys. And that brings me to handicapping this matchup because I have my concerns about Ohio State. I think they're a talented team. I think, though, they've come up short recently, and a lot of the same issues. They have not been able to compete inside against the best teams. Illinois outclassed them. Michigan outclassed them twice, beat them by double digits twice. And this Virginia team, I think overall they're not like a dominant team. They certainly aren't on the level of Illinois or Michigan, I don't think. But they do have a front line. They do have a center. They can get on the glass. They can block shots and protect the paint. They're very good at those things. And those are kind of some of Ohio State's weaknesses. So I'm a little worried. Like I would like Ohio State here from a motivational angle and catching points if it's over 3. But I do have concerns about this matchup for Ohio State, given how they've looked against other teams with size and the ability to defend the paint and rebound.
Yeah, so I guess where is your point on the spread where you would break one way or another when it comes to this game?
Yeah, I'd probably definitely over 3. I'd want if I were going to consider Ohio State, probably higher than that. Like Ken Palm, I'm checking his numbers. He has it at Virginia by 5. I think I would lean Ohio State, even with the matchup concerns, at that number and play on this neutral court, a team that really needs this win. But that's probably about my break-even point on this one. Is probably around 5. If it's below 3, I like Virginia. It's kind of the opposite. If I'm getting points in a single score game, I like Virginia here because they can get those stops inside, maybe if it's a close game late.
Okay. Sounds good. And that is our top 5 picks for this weekend. To recap really quick here, we have our first one, Texas A&M plus the points at Vanderbilt, Iowa State at home versus Kansas in the favorite role, Marquette plus the points at Xavier, Texas Tech plus the points at Arizona, and then we expect a close one between Virginia and Ohio State. So check the line there and make your picks accordingly. Of course, you want to check the lines for all of these when these spreads are released. And if you have any questions on whether we like a certain pick based off of those odds and that line movement, you can hit us up over on our Discord channel. Jason's in there posting his college basketball analysis almost every day. So if you fire off a question in there of, say, hey, this is the spread of the Texas Tech game, do you still like it at +6? We'll definitely come back and answer that. I will put a link to our Discord in the comment section and in the description over on YouTube, so you can go in there and use that as a resource all college basketball season. So please check that out. Also, I want you to consider our special offer over on Novig. We ran through it at the top of this video. If you put in $25 over there with the promo code POOL, you will get $25 on top of that. Cool way to try out the site. They are live in 35 plus states, and just a great way to line shop, if nothing else. Like I use them as my primary picking app, but Jason likes to line shop over there with all the other apps that he has. Jason, do you have anything else you want to say to the people for this weekend slate of college basketball?
I've got so much to say, but I will cut it short. I'm excited for a lot of games this weekend. We didn't make a pick on Gonzaga Santa Clara. That's actually a really big game at home for Santa Clara. I think they have a path to actually beating Gonzaga, who is without Braden Huff for the regular season title. I think they're still alive if they can beat Gonzaga at home as a slight dog. So that's one I'll be interested in. I expect that line will. The lines lately on Gonzaga have definitely been taking into account their injuries. They've been lower than expected, and I expect this to be a close line. And I think it could go either way. I think Santa Clara can pull this upset. Big game on Friday night in the Big Ten. We didn't talk about Michigan State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got another big win midweek against Illinois. Can they do it again as a dog against the Spartans? That's your best matchup tomorrow night if you're looking for college basketball. And then I'll be watching all the as Spencer likes to say, the Division II teams. So I'll be keeping an eye on our Northeast Conference brethren and maybe the Southland. I'll check in there. Definitely want to see what Illinois Chicago's up to. So that's where I'll be doing.
Not gonna lie, when we said we were gonna do our top 5 picks from the weekend, and I let you have full agency over the picks, and we have a sheet that we went through, and so we knew what each was picking.
I figured that people would like the,
I thought we were gonna get Mercer at the Citadel. Game going on here. You seeing line value in that, because those are usually the messages that I get from you.
Yeah, I know, but we're trying to give the people a little something different. I will have my bracketology breakdown. I am discuss Miami of Ohio on that this week. Giving the people what they want, going for the SEO play, big alumni base, Miami of Ohio. That's what I'm going to fire it out with.
All right, so be sure to like and subscribe this video if you found it helpful and entertaining at the very least, and check out Jason's bracketology video coming up on the Pool Genius YouTube channel. With that, good luck in your college basketball picks this weekend.